You saw in an earlier video how I right-clicked and changed my signature. Let's look at signatures in a little bit more detail. Whenever I create a new email, I automatically get this text here at the bottom of the email. This text here is my signature. It's really good practice and a really good idea to create yourself a signature. That way, whenever you create a new email, it automatically puts at the bottom of your message your name, maybe your job title, maybe who you work for, your phone number, your mobile, and alternative ways that I can contact or someone else can contact you besides replying to an email. Now, to create a signature, let's start by, first of all, I'll create one. I'm going to just copy and paste what I've got here. So that's just copy up here, and then I'll just down here paste it, and I'll make some changes. So I'm going to put Caitlin Parker Brown, put a job title, take out these here, and address, etc. And that's her signature there. You type what it is that you want in your signature or in your second or third signature, because you're allowed more than one. You then select it. Now when you type it also, you make it look nice. So like you'll select text and you'll perhaps change the font, maybe change the font size. And as I roll up and down, you can see the font size changing. Perhaps change the font color. Perhaps make it bold. Or italics or underlined, so you can actually control the look of it. And all of these other options, perhaps those would be the main ones. And then select whatever you've typed and formatted, highlight over it, go to the signature button up here in the message tab in the ribbon and choose signatures. What you'll then see is this window appear. So what I want to do is, cancel that. Take a copy of this. So select it, copy it, go to the signature button and go to signatures. Then actually go new, and I'm going to call it Caitlin. And OK, so you give it any name that you want. Then I'm going to right click and I'm going to paste what I had selected and copied earlier. And there it is there. Then I go save. So I've created now another signature. So I went new, I gave it a name, I pasted in what I'd created in the message, and I saved it. And OK. I can now, with this selected, delete it. If I wish to change the signature here, I simply right click and I'll change it to Caitlin. Or I'll right click and I'll change it to Cathi. Or I'll right click and choose any one of these signatures. So the point is you can have more than one signature and you just give it a name. And then you can right click and you can switch between them. Sometimes I need to make a correction to a signature. So again, I'll go back into signatures, but this time through the right click. I might decide that this option here, which is SS, should say 17 years. So I'll change that to 17 and I'll save. So you can easily create, edit signatures, and you can even delete them. Now also, if you've got more than one email account, they will appear in this list here. For each email account, you can say what signature you want to use, and there they are listed there, for whenever you create a new message from that account, or whenever you reply or forward a message from that account. So each of my accounts has a different signature that I use for creating, replying, and forwarding. And I can see them as I move between them. And then cancel. If I now right click and switch it back to Cathi Barker Software Solutions, that 16 years should change to 17 years because I've updated that signature. So consider creating a signature, and even consider creating more than one signature if you have more than one account. Now the other thing also is sometimes we want to mark an email for follow-up. Now on the message tab in the ribbon, we have a button to the right of signature called follow-up. And if I click this button, I can create follow-up for tomorrow, this week, next week, and so on. But I might create a custom follow-up. What I'd like it to do is to flag me and remind me to ring this person on Monday. So instead of follow-up, I'm actually going to say ring Dennis and Leanne Monday morning. And I'll set a start date that I want it to tell me to do this next Monday. And I want a reminder next Monday at say 7 in the morning. Now I can make it that it doesn't only pop up and tell me at 7 o'clock on Monday the 17th of July, and it'll pop up with a message telling me to ring these two, but I can also flag it for the recipients. I want it to pop up on their machine and say, Cathi will ring Monday morning. And I want it to pop up and remind them on Friday at 4 p.m. And when I click OK, this appears at the very top. The recipient will receive a message on Friday at 4 p.m. saying, Cathi will ring Monday morning. And I will receive a message on Monday at 7 a.m. saying, ring Dennis and Cathi Monday morning. So you can add follow-up to an email, follow-up for yourself and for the recipients. I think the latest one I saw was it was a short week because it was a public holiday. And so the lady in charge of timesheets sent out an email saying, could you please all have your timesheets in early because it's a short week. Rather than just leave that in an email, she also added follow-up. So when the persons received the email at a certain date and a certain time, it popped up and said, get your timesheets in this morning as it is going to be a short week. So it's a way of making a message pop up and remind them on their screen. So you can easily add reminders. You can also clear it if you wish, simply by hitting the clear flag. Very, very useful. Now the other thing to consider when you are sending an email is the level of importance. You can send an email with high importance, which sort of gets it through the queue a little bit quicker, or with low importance if it's not really that important. So you can click this option or click this option. And what will happen is the person, when they receive the email, will see a little red exclamation mark in their inbox, which means that the sender has implied that it's of high importance. If they receive an email with low importance, they'll see a little blue down arrow, and they'll know it's not really important. If you go into the Tags dialog box launcher, you'll actually be able to see here you can set the importance to either low, normal, or high. And so I'll put it back to normal. You can also control the sensitivity, which is it personal, is it private, is it confidential, or just normal? So you can also set that as well. If you want to set those settings on a permanent basis for every single email, then you wouldn't go this way. This is just for this email. If I close out of here and go to File and go to Options, you do have the ability to set the sensitivity, etc., in the Mail side of Outlook. So what happens is as I scroll down, I get the option here under the Send Messages. My default importance level is normal, but you can set it to high or low. And my default sensitivity level is normal, though I can set it to the other options here. So that's something to consider as well, and then that becomes your default settings. Now the other thing is sometimes, and so at this point I would typically just hit send, and that would send that email. And I'm just going to close it, save no. Now the other thing to consider is when you are looking at an email, sometimes it's nice to be able to zoom in and to zoom out. But particularly I find if somebody has sent you an image, sometimes the image is not very easy to see. So you do have a zoom button. It's at the far right of your message tab in the ribbon. And when you click that, you can zoom into say 200%, which makes it very, very big. But I think instead of using the zoom, I would actually encourage holding the control key down if your mouse has a wheel and wheel forward. And you will, if you wheel forward, get bigger and bigger and bigger. If you wheel backwards, you'll get smaller and smaller and smaller until eventually you're back to the default, wheel in, wheel back, of 100%. So be aware, if you can't quite see, you can zoom, but you can also hold the control key and zoom in and zoom out. So I'm just going to close this again and create a new email, go into the message area, and yes,